Avatar 2, ladies and gentlemen. That is the movie we're talking about. We're going to be talking about today. We are talking telly, and we are going to be talking about the new hit movie, James Cameron's baby, his child that he's been working on for the past 10 years. Avatar
Actually,
2,
I might correct you there. 13 years. It's
13
13 years now
years.
since the first Avatar came out. He's been
Oh,
working on this shit 13 years.
and it's dropped this month. And your boys have, of course, watched it.
Oh, we had to. Had to,
And
folks.
we, we'll be talking about what we thought about it, what our thoughts are for the future of the series, and, you know, what we expect from James Cameron and his crew, his happy mercenaries that are living their best lives working on this series for years.
For literal years.
So,
I feel like these people see more blue people than they see their own family.
yeah,
Like,
their family is blue people at this point.
spend their Christmas dinner talking about blue people.
But yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, even though you do know, Avatar 2 is a sequel to Avatar 1, the biggest selling movie of all time in the box office. And Avatar 2 is a direct sequel taking place, I mean, roughly 5 years, and then later on 15 years after the first movie. And I mean, off the bat, I think we can say I really enjoyed Avatar 2. I think coming into it, I was skeptical. I know the general consensus has been Avatar 1 sucks. We all hate Avatar 1. What a boring and trite movie. Everyone liked it because of the visuals. And as much as I agree with that to some extent, I always had a soft spot for Avatar 1, you know. It's a unique sci-fi action movie, and it has a lot of, interesting takes, and obviously it looks spectacular. And Avatar 2, when you see the trailers, it's about family, it's about his, family, that's all that matters. You're thinking, whatever, these kid actors, which I'm not saying they're bad, but you might be thinking going in, oh, is this just a crappy, family movie? And family is the main theme of the movie, however, it executes it really well. I think, in my opinion, I think Avatar 2 is better than Avatar 1. And I not
Yeah,
only
I
not
would agree
yeah,
wholeheartedly with that.
not only I mean, obviously in the visuals are incomparable, but also in the dialogue, the writing, and the overall story. I think I think let's just get down to what makes this movie so good. I mean, firstly, we have to talk about it. It's what everyone talks about: the visuals. This movie is the I see this. We've seen this movie in 3D, and it's the best looking movie I've ever seen in my life.
Oh,
Every
by far,
By
folks,
far,
by
you,
far.
you,
This
you
movie,
can't compare. You
this
can't
movie
compare.
is like it's visual ecstasy. That is the best way to describe it. Is visual ecstasy. Like
Every single
I,
scene was jaw dropping. There was not a single scene that I was thinking, "Oh, this is okay." There was not a single scene that I was content. Every scene, and I mean every scene, I had my jaw dropped to the goddamn chair, and from the
even
get
the
go,
bullshit filler part, even the
yeah.
bullshit filler part, they spared no
Mm.
expense with this movie, folks. Like honestly, if you're just going to watch a movie, like I feel like you don't even need to worry about the plot for the
Oh no.
most part. I feel like the plot is there just to, push you along, keep you interested, but you're there
Mm.
to watch, the world. You're there for world building. You're there for new animals. You're there for the trees, the sky. Like everything is just so. No, it's just gorgeous.
It's a spectacle. That's what it is, and it's the way I thought of it when I was watching it, and on agrees with me is I was watching this and I was thinking, this, if games look like this in 10, 15, 20 years, I mean, holy cow. Like, it's so. I like the analogy I like to use is when you look at Marvel movies, for example, Infinity War or Endgame, you see, wow, that CGI is great. Thanos looks fantastic, and Thor looks great with his Stormbreaker. Well, you look at Thanos and you go, yeah, he's not real. He's a big purple guy with a ball sack on his chin. You look at
Yeah. Oh no, you look at
you,
Thanos.
you look at Hulk and you're like, he looks crap. Like you look at Professor Hulk and you're thinking, eh,
Oh, he looks stupid. He looks like there's a copy and paste. Like someone literally just threw him in the scene. Like do you ever watch like the Animaniacs movie from the 90s, where it's like a cartoon drawing on film? Like it just looks so stupid, and that was CGI back then. Nowadays, like people got to convince me. I watched that movie. I literally said, "You got to convince me this movie wasn't filmed on Pandora. You have to convince me this movie wasn't filmed on Pandora."
I
James Cameron actually got like the quantum verse in his back garden, and he's filming this shit. He's filming this shit on fucking Pandora in the quantum verse. Because my fucking god, how?
it's
Like we
funny.
know Zoe Saldana plays
Yeah.
Nick Fury in the movie. It does not look like Zoe like Saldana. It doesn't.
It looks like the TV. You're thinking, oh, that's the TV.
Yeah, you're looking at her thinking, my god, that is not Zoe Saldana. That it just isn't. Like, when you're watching Thanos in Infinity War and Endgame, you're thinking that's Josh Brolin. That's Josh Brolin in a suit.
Yeah.
You're watching this, you're thinking, my god, who is this?
What's funny is people after the first movie they said people were sad, depressed that they couldn't live on Pandora, that they could never go there, and I always laughed. I was like, haha, whatever, what a bunch of idiots, because I never got to see the first one in 3D. But now after this movie, I'm thinking, I want to see Pandora. Like, where is this place? Get me a ticket to the goddamn Pandora. Get me on the cryosleep aeroplane, baby. Get me in the spaceship. I want to go there. It's, I don't know what I'm saying. It's seamless. That's the most important part. It's just as good as CGI can be. It can never detract from the immersion, and this movie does that perfectly from the get go. You're instantly like, all right, here's Jake Sully, here's Natiri. You feel for these people. You feel their emotions. You feel their struggles. You can see that them going through physical strife, and you can empathize because these to you are real people. Obviously, they're aliens. They're big, huge blue people, but the CGI. I mean, I'll put it this way: this movie basically is about the looks, even though it has a plot and it has themes and what it wants to evoke. It's mainly about, as I mentioned, a visual spectacle, and not if the CGI was worse, then this movie simply wouldn't have been popular. Avatar
If the
is.
CGI was worse, folks, this movie would suck
No
ass.
one
It
would care
would
for this
not.
movie. No one would care for this movie.
Yeah, no, it'd be tossed aside. It
But
would be tossed aside. I feel like we need to go into that a little bit more
yeah,
for
I
like our
think.
final thoughts on the movie. Because I don't know, with the first Avatar, I'll just go on like a little tangent and say,
Yeah.
like, the first Avatar was good. Don't get me wrong. I fortunately got to see it in 3D with my family way back when, folks. So I feel like I have not that I have the full opinion on it, because bear in mind I was like 10 at the time. Well, no, actually even younger. I was even younger. So I feel like watching it, I didn't really I didn't really get the plot. I thought it was almost like a half baked plot in the sense that, of course it's aliens against humans, but humans are the bad guy. But it doesn't really like develop after that. So I was kind of worried for this movie, thinking, okay, will this movie just be the exact same? It's just humans against aliens, but humans are the bad guys? Is it just gonna be like another visual spectacle, but there's no plot? I feel like this movie especially, it it shies away from that, but it stays true to its core.
Yeah, I think that's what this movie
Like
does the best.
it shies away from the whole humans and aliens thing. Like, of course, humans are still bad guys, which is what I'm trying to say. It stays true to its core. Humans are still bad guys. Aliens are still good guys, but you know, I feel like you can almost forgive it with the visuals. You can forgive that, which is why we were trying to say there. It's not like it'd be a bad movie with shit or CGI. It just wouldn't be $1 billion movie or
Yeah,
movies.
I think the this movie is obviously it's carried a lot by its characters as well. This is a family movie, and in a way, in I think this movie relies more on the characters, a lot more on the characters than the first movie. Because the first one was all about, you're ogling, you're thinking, wow, look at his ecosystem. And you're obviously doing it the same here, except now you're wondering how these, how the relatives are going to live, how they're going to fit into, certain places that they visit, how they're going to deal with their troubles, how they're going to fit in. And it works. I mean, every character is great. I mean, like, when I mean character, I mean, like, every blue person. And the main villain, which, we'll talk about later on. Um, Particularly, obviously the main family members are, which I'm very impressed with. Obviously, Jake Sully, we know, Sam Worthington is a really good actor. Obviously, Zoe Saldana as Nichi was great. And Kiri and Loak were very good characters. And,
And you're forgetting about
welcome
Nateo.
addition.
You're forgetting about my boy Nateo, the oldest born. I feel like that's not a spoiler.
No, no,
Or
it's
the
not.
oldest son.
Yeah, yeah.
Not the oldest born, the oldest
I guess
son,
he's
I should say.
actually the youngest born or the oldest. Well, I don't know I don't know the terminology.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, he is the oldest born,
yeah,
but you just wouldn't say it like that. You wouldn't say, "Oh, he is the oldest born."
yeah. Would you say you have
You just get what we're trying to say, folks.
any critiques for this movie in general?
Any critiques for this movie, spoiler free way or spoiler way,
Spoiler free.
or
Just we'll keep it spoiler free
but
for now.
spoiler free? I feel like yet again it goes back to what I was saying there. Like the plot isn't half baked, but it's heavily carried by its visuals.
Yeah,
I feel like we do need to go a little bit more into that. But it is like this movie. It's it is a visual spectacle, and if it wasn't this way, the plot would just be a bit like.
it's
Uh,
it's funny because it's not. You could argue this isn't really a sci-fi movie. I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and sci-fi movies are all about. If you take Dune, for example, it's all about world building. These deep, rich environments. The lore behind them, and Avatar obviously one I'd say is a real sci-fi movie, but this one, it's obviously it's sci-fi, but it's more a sci-fi action family movie, if you know what I mean. Because yes, they do talk about lore, but they don't really go into the backstories of their cultures, if you know what I mean. They'd be like, oh, this culture exists, and that's it, Whereas in Dune, all these other things, they like to describe things a lot, how how like the force works in Star Wars, the nature connects into it, how the door how I don't say Dora Milaje how
the Dora
the Bene
Milaje.
Gesserit and their cult works in Dune, how the hierarchy of the families work and how the politics, and in Dune you get a lot of exposition, but it's to sort of build up this world. That's the I wouldn't consider this a negative. I like to point it out that Avatar 2 is actually it's not I would not consider it a proper sci-fi. It's more like sci-fi adventure action bomb with family, which in my opinion actually makes it better because it's
Honestly,
extremely accessible.
it's genre breaking.
No,
I'd
I
say
would
it's
not say.
genre break.
That's not genre.
No, it is. It is. It steers away from the traditional
I
sci-fi
mean, yeah,
route of like almost not like half baked, but like sometimes jokeable CGI can be used in sci-fi movies, folks. If we
yeah, but
remember
that's
such
yeah,
sci-fi
but
classics,
that's not a stereotype of sci-fi. That's just crappy sci-fi movies. I think
okay,
I think I think the reason is because it's more of a family movie. It has a lot of action where sci-fi would tend to just mull over stuff, discourse. And I actually gladly accept this change because this is a movie for anyone. I mean, in the cinemas there were literally like babies in the cinemas that we went. They were literally like a kid, like they were like 3-year-olds. I'm pretty sure down at the bottom. Above us there was like some kids stomping around every couple of minutes, going to the toilet. And
honestly, I didn't even notice them. I didn't even notice them.
I barely noticed
I was
them.
so invested. I was so invested in
Yeah,
the movie. Like usually, with most movies, I'd be like, "Oh,
yeah.
kid won't shut up," God damn it! I'm not the kind of person that be like a
Shut
hey,
up.
shut your kid up, shut your kid up. He's so annoying. I'm trying to watch the movie. I wouldn't be like that, but usually with some movies, you'd be like, "Oh, kids are screaming. Oh, they're ruining my movie experience." But you wouldn't say no.
Yeah,
With this movie, I didn't even notice them.
yeah. I think it's a light movie. It's not. obviously has more emotional moments, but it's not. This isn't. Even though it's 3 hours long, and the length of it can seem very daunting, very intimidating. It goes by very quickly. It's light with it has topics it wants to talk about, and it discusses them greatly. How how people abuse nature, how they basically just take whatever resource they want for it and disregard the outcome or the actions that they do. But nothing too heavy, nothing too complex. You're not sitting there scratching your head trying to wrap your mind around this complex plot. And you don't need to do that for every movie. The action's fun, the characters are good, the CGI is breathtaking, and you're just in for the experience. I think for a movie like this, I think it works wonders. And I think it will be Avatar 1, and I think it will be the highest grossing movie of all time.
Oh, definitely, definitely,
It's
folks.
at
And
1.4.
I feel like it's a well deserved. It's a well deserved. This movie, genuinely, if we're gonna wrap up the spoiler free review, I feel like this movie deserves to be the highest grossing. Because I don't know, I feel like a lot of CGI, like we were kind of getting. It felt like we were getting to the cusp of it. Also, another one of my fears going into this movie, I was afraid it was gonna look great, but it wasn't gonna blow me away. Like it wasn't gonna be like magical,
Yeah, it
like the
wasn't
first
gonna be
Avatar
the
movie
next
was.
step.
It wasn't gonna be, this is the next step in CGI. This is how everything will look in 10 years' time, 15 years' time, like we taught with games. But that movie, or this movie, I should say, and the future Avatar movies, they give me hope. They give me hope. I hope games can look like this. I hope
Oh man,
Marvel movies can start looking like this movie. Like
I
10, 15 years down the road. I hope
I
it's this beautiful and it
oh
takes
yeah.
this much effort. And it takes this much time to craft masterpieces, instead of pumping out movies like Marvel does. I want them to actually take time, appreciate their work, appreciate the little things and like the nature and art behind it.
I
That's
do
all I gotta say,
actually
spoiler
want
free.
to do a final little touch of spoiler free is just uh I really I do hope this becomes the highest grossing. Do I think there are better movies, of course, but I'm just looking at it. It's not the fastest. It's not the fastest movie to hit 1 billion. Obviously, it's at 1.4 billion now, and the movie did come out just over 2 weeks ago. But there have been quicker. Endgame got 1.2 billion in 5 days.
Bear in mind,
Jesus
there was
Christ.
such hype.
Yeah. Oh, I
There was
agree.
such hype around
I
Endgame.
agree. But I'm just.
Everyone and their mom wanted to go see Endgame at midnight. Everyone and their mom wanted to go see it.
But
But I feel like not everyone was running out the door for goddamn Avatar Way of War.
see, Endgame hit 2.5 billion in 20 days.
But I feel like once everyone saw Endgame, they were like, I wouldn't go see it again. This movie, folks, genuinely, I was thinking back on it. I said to myself after watching it originally, I wouldn't go see it again in cinema. Thinking back on it, reminiscing,
I
talking
would.
about it now, I would.
Oh yeah,
Honestly, I'd go back and see it again.
definitely. That's like I left and I told Owen I want to see this again. It's actually the final thing before we end the spoiler free section. Please watch it in 3D, please.
Yeah,
I know someone
yeah.
who watched it in 2D, and they said they had their problems with the story, but they weren't so blown away by the visuals. The 3D is crucial to this movie. And when I mean 3D, I don't mean, oh, they're waving a bow and it's in your face. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's like, I'm
And
talking
it's not
about the
like
characters being in
oh,
front of the background. I'm talking about the way the leaves look at the trees. I'm talking about you look at the nose and the way it acts different. Shit hits different when you put on those glasses. You know what I mean? So,
honestly, like I've never been a fan of 3D. I've never been an advocate for 3D. I always feel like if you can watch it in 3D, you can watch it in 2D. This movie, like for 3D, which I thought was dying, has completely revamped it for me. I feel like any CGI movie which I want to go watch now, I kind of need to go watch it in 3D. Like if they have Ant-Man Quantumania in 3D, I kind of feel like I need to go watch it in 3D. That's what I'm saying. Because this movie, 3D wise, slap.